All right. Okay, so we're continuing with our liver gallbladder meridian work that we've been kind of working with the last couple of weeks, but we're going to do things a little bit differently today. We're going to start lying on our back and kind of start lying down and then coming to sit up. So a little bit of a change in the structure for tonight. So we're first of all going to find that heart opening posture. So if you have a cushion or a pillow, something that you can stack and bring a little bit of height so you can relax onto your back like this. If you don't have that and you have your books or a block, then you can take one block in between your two shoulder blades, so in between up high on the upper back, and then come to relax, making sure that your head can fall onto the ground. If it's not so comfortable, you can place a pillow underneath the head as well. So check as we're coming into our first posture that you feel quite comfortable wherever you first settle into. And if this variation of the feet together, knees open in our butterfly shape, if that's okay for your hips, then feel free to come here. If this is quite strong on the hips, then all you do is just relax your legs forward. Or if you have those extra props, then you can bring them underneath the knees. And feel free to move a little bit with inside this posture, maybe even placing your hands onto the thighs and pushing them away, lengthening a little bit the lower back. And then we're going to interlace our hands and just take them behind the head for the moment, taking the elbows nice and wide and just looking up to the sky. Maybe you can have a gentle pressure of your elbows down, feeling that you open the chest and the heart area. And then maybe reach the arms over your head, taking a big yawning stretch. So just finding a little bit of mobility in that opening. And then once you feel like you've ironed out some creases, bring the backs of your hands to the floor and gently close your eyes if you like. So take a moment to notice if you feel quite alert, then maybe closing the eyes will help you to make this transition into your body, into this listening mode. If you feel quite sleepy or tired or your motivation has been quite low, then I suggest you keep the eyes softly open so that you can allow yourself not to drift off into sleepiness, but you cultivate that sense of alertness and awareness of the body. And let's take our 3 deep breaths to begin. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth, taking a sigh. 2 more deep breaths like this. Inhale. Exhale through the mouth. 1 more exaggerated breath. Exhale. Taking a moment to settle in. To allow your breath to find its natural rhythm for tonight. Checking in that you feel comfortable in the shape that you've found yourself in. So remembering one of our 3 principles that guide the practice. This idea of finding our edge. Finding that threshold of where we can deeply relax the body. Where we still receive the sensations, but we're not pushing or finding pain. That idea of 80% of our capacity, 70%. And take this moment as we arrive here in our first posture a slight change from our normal meditation to begin. Can you notice the landscape of your body, the landscape of your mind, and also the landscape of your emotional states? Maybe the day that you've had feels that it's very close to you in this moment as you come to lie, or maybe you feel quite distant from the day you've had. And allow each breath as it passes in and out to be as if you're walking down a staircase and each breath was taking a step down, one step at a time, descending into that space of relaxation, that space of mindfulness. That space of listening, starting to come closer to our internal atmosphere, our internal landscape. So if your eyes are open, then maybe you feel that you can softly close them now without letting yourself drift into sleepiness, which maybe might be very tempting as we lie on our backs. Somehow our bodies know very well to just drift off. Can we still work with that sense of mindfulness and awareness that we've been speaking about? So can you slowly let your attention start to collect to your breath, noticing the sensations of your breath as it moves in and out of your body. And let your breath just be your natural breath. If you do feel sleepy, then maybe emphasizing the breath will help you to find that sense of alertness and attention. So if that's the case, then feel free to maybe find a small restriction in the back of the throat to make the sound with the breath. And can you start to turn towards and scan the sensations that are present in your body here? Maybe you'd like to take that body scan quite methodically from the top of your head all the way to your toes, or in reverse. Or maybe you'd like to take this idea from last week, seeing these sensations as if the body was a landscape painting, very large, and letting our attention drift from sensation to sensation, maybe a bit more like ping pong or tennis. And allow yourself to start to turn towards anything that arises as you're here in our first reclined butterfly. Maybe as we stay a little longer, you start to notice our target areas of the inner thighs if your feet are in butterfly. Starting to feel the inner thighs stretching, or that building sensation in the hip joint. And maybe also this soft chest opening action around the shoulders and the heart. And as you find yourself, continue walking down the stairs, descending in towards that space of deep relaxation and concentration. Can you notice how our sensations start to change as we stay in stillness for this extended amount of time? Meeting our second principle for tonight, our relationship to time, these longer holds. And as you allow yourself to hear the gong sound, that's our cue to slowly find our way out of this posture. So take a moment to listen to where you feel any suggestion to move. And go ahead, slowly move your body. Maybe you want to bring the knees in with the support of the arms. If you have the knees open, then let's just find a little counter action with the legs. So walk your feet as wide as the mat and let the knees fold in towards each other. If you weren't taking that action with the legs, then feel free to hug the knees into the chest unless you have a block under you. And take one more deep breath here. And then slowly roll towards one side. And we're going to lie down onto our mats completely. Take away your props. You might want to keep a cushion or a pillow close by, maybe for the next posture, depending on how you go. Then come to lie back onto your back and extend the legs long for a moment. And give the legs a little shake in and out as you come to lie onto your back. And then hug both knees into your chest. Maybe one and then the second one if you like. Taking your time to arrive. And if it feels good, give yourself a little rock from side to side. Gently squeeze the knees into your chest so you feel this deep crease in the front of the hips. That opening of the lower back into the mat. And then come back to the center. Let your left foot come onto the mat. And we find our half square position. So this is where we make our number 4 with the legs. So take your right ankle to the left knee, flex your foot, and then you can gently reach your right knee away from your shoulders. So option 1 is to stay here. Option 2 is you'll thread your hands through this little gap to catch the lower leg. Or you might extend the leg. So play with either variation, see what feels best for you. If you notice that your hips come very far away from the ground, then take your pillow and place it underneath your hips. So that when you come here, you notice that your legs fall a bit more naturally towards your chest. If you're close to a wall, you can also always place your left foot onto a wall for a slight variation. Annalise, if you like, you can come into dolphin, or I think I gave you another suggestion. If it's too early, then you can even take butterfly with the forward fold. So I encourage you to keep your right foot flexed. This helps to support the knee joint, especially if you have any sensitive knees. And once you feel comfortable in the posture that you've found, the variation that you've found, take a deep breath to settle in, settling into stillness. If you'd like to intensify, then you can bend your elbows, bringing the legs closer, or feel your sit bones reaching back towards the mat. So we start to feel our sensation in the right outer hip, maybe even in the back. in the space between the ribs and the hips. So the lumbar area of the back. And as we're beginning really close to the floor today, invite yourself to receive the support of your mat and the floor with the back surface of your body. So can you softly release your shoulders, the weight of your head? Feel that maybe your neck and your jaw can soften. And then maybe you could let go of any tension in the front area of the chest and belly. So we really take advantage of beginning on our back, closer to that deep relaxation of sleeping that we often do every night, I hope, for most of us. But see if you can really slip into that state, that idea of allowing yourself to submerge in deep relaxation, walking down those stairs. And as you settle in, once again turn your attention to your breath. And we begin to invite our third principle, mindfulness, to our practice. So can you start to become more aware of the sensations of your breath? Can you notice which sensations are most strong or most clear to you? Do you feel breath in your belly? Maybe in the upper chest as it rests on the mat? Or maybe the air passing through your nostrils. Take a moment to just be with one area of sensation, watching how the breath moves into this area and then slowly leaves that area. That constant nature of the breath helping us to come to the present moment, allowing us and ourselves to be in the present moment and turn towards any thoughts, sensations that arise. Allowing ourselves to meet in this introspective space. And gently start to deepen your breath. And we're slowly going to release this posture. So if you had the hands interlaced, then release the legs. If you had a cushion under your hips, then take that away. And then we're going to release our right leg back to the mat. Lift your hips and place them to the right side of your mat. And then extend the legs long in front of you. You're going to take your arms over your head. And then slowly we make a banana shape. I'm pretty sure we've done this together before. Walk your feet towards the left side of your mat. And then can you also walk your shoulders, your arms, and your head towards the left side of the mat. So if you were to look up from the sky, you would see yourself in a banana shape or a crescent moon. And we want to feel a stretch down the right side of the body. And so maybe starting here at the start of the practice, letting the legs rest on the ground will give us that sensation. If you don't feel a sensation, then perhaps cross your right leg over the left. And you'll notice how this maybe increases that sensation around the hips, around the psoas area. So take a moment to get comfortable, to find your variation. If you'd like stronger action around the chest, then maybe you could catch hold of your wrist with your left hand and pull a little bit on your right arm to take yourself further into the banana shape. And just remember, as you're settling in, our goal isn't to find the biggest stretch or the most advanced variation. So in our yin practice especially, we don't really have advanced postures. It's more about working to our capacity for today. So if you need a softer practice tonight, then really acknowledge that and take those softer options so that we can be mindful wherever we are. We want to create those opportunities where we can start to be very steady with our concentration and our awareness on the breath. Not letting our awareness run away with the thoughts or judgments. So as you come to settle in, checking that you're comfortable, can you shift your awareness of where you're concentrating and listening to the breath? So if you were maybe with the chest before, then move to the belly for this posture, or if you're at the belly, then move to the nose. So can you choose one area of sensation of breathing and stay for the entire duration of each posture? Maybe making a slower way towards following the entire breath or the journey of the breath. So settle into listening and connecting in with just one area, maybe the belly, the chest, or the nose. Seeing how the breath moves into that area and then softly leaves. And notice if you feel that you really want to manipulate the breath, or if we find ourselves getting a bit caught in doing the act of breathing. That as you lie here, because we're watching the breath, sometimes we can trick ourselves into really actively breathing or doing the breath instead of seeing or watching the breath. So can you allow yourself to become that watcher, the observer, moving away from that more active place into the passive space. Watch for a moment as you notice the sound of our gong, and then gently release yourself out of this posture, following that motivation of where you would like to move first. Coming back to finding our feet and our knees bent, feet on the mat. Hands resting on the belly, and gently close your eyes. Taking a moment to listen to how that information is in the lower spine, maybe the side of the body. Feeling how that compression releases and creates that sense of inner movement or that sense of busyness, increased sensation. And then very gently we come to the second side. So bend your left knee. If you can, try to take the same variation as the first side. So remember, our option 1 is to take the left foot to the right knee, letting the foot stay on the ground. We encourage you to flex your left foot, or if you like, come to catch the lower leg or the extending the bottom leg. Remember, you're going to thread your hands through that little gap so you hold on, and you can keep your shoulders flat on the ground. If you have a pillow and you place it underneath your hips, remember you have that option. And you can also bend the elbows, drawing them closer into you. Take a deep breath to settle in, making sure that you're comfortable and there's no pain in the body. Strong sensation is wonderful and a very helpful tool. But remember that you'll be here for a couple of minutes. And can you now turn towards that last sensation of breath, area of breath, belly, chest, or nose, and come to stay really at that fixed point for the duration of the posture. Just finding a slightly different journey into our concentration tonight, into our awareness of breath. And maybe you already notice that the sleepiness of the mind or that sense of drowsiness is very close, as we've been on the floor for quite some time now. And often we do those more, not active postures, but our sitting postures or those stronger postures, even though they might bring up frustration and a bit of mental challenge. They do keep us alert and somehow make the practice a little bit easier. So we have the benefit of maybe relaxation being easier as we lie down. But this creates a bit of trickiness because then often our attention becomes sleepy. So notice if your attention is sleepy and maybe you need to find the sound of the breath, or you can even count the breath to help you really find that steadiness in the mindfulness here, in that attention. And if you do find yourself sleepy, one way we can also counteract this is to simply open the eyes. If you have a light above you, then try to maybe look a bit more towards your toes, away directly from the light. And if you have your eyes open, then can you keep the eyes soft? So rather than looking at a specific object, we could look with a very open gaze, as if you want to take the whole surface of what is in front of you, to see it all at the same time. And can you begin to start to notice those moments where your attention drifts away from the breath? And you notice that your thinking mind has come back onto your mat. Can you slowly just pick up these thoughts and place them back off your mat and come back to the breath? As you do this, remember to take your kindness with you, and that those thoughts that like to creep in, it's not about punishing them when they come in to the practice, but rather being a bit more simple or pragmatic about it, just putting them to the side and coming back. And once again, notice if you've drifted away, come back, turn back towards this introspection, towards meeting any sensations that arise, any thoughts that arise, and can you just suspend any judgment or criticism? Do you slowly start to find that sense of distance between your thoughts and the judgment, or between feelings and judgments, sensations and criticisms? Once more, take one more deep breath. And listening to where you would like to first move your body, release the hands, bringing both feet back to the mat. And we slowly move towards our crescent moon on the second side. So extend your legs long. If you need a moment here to let that compression release for a moment, then feel free to take those extra moments for yourself. It's important to listen to what you need. But if you're okay, make sure your hips are on the left side of your mat and walk the legs to the right, your shoulders, head and arms to the right, so we find ourselves in a banana shape. You have the option to cross the left leg over the right, maybe catching the left hand with your left wrist, with your right hand. Taking the body into a space where we feel the sensation on the left side of the body. Taking a moment to settle in, to make sure that you're comfortable. And notice how maybe you start to notice those sensations accumulating around the torso and the hips. Check for a moment, scan your entire body and notice if you hold tension, that you lift yourself away from the mat or the earth. Can you invite your body, your muscles to relax, to support the relaxation of the mind, so to support the work of those target areas. And I've been thinking a lot about boredom this week and wanted to bring that maybe as a little moment to contemplate for the practice tonight. I think for most of us, we're in our 4th or 5th week of confinement. I'm not really sure, I'm trying not to count. But maybe we notice that our yoga practice has become a bit dull, that our routine has become a bit dull, or maybe our mind has become a little bit dull, that somehow everything has become quite monotone or regular, that spontaneity that we maybe take a bit more with granted, of seeing different people, going to different places, and how that has maybe slipped out of our lives for a little time. And often our reaction to this sameness is this, maybe boredom comes up, or we kind of forget to actually listen to what is really with us in each moment. Then maybe we anticipate what the day has to hold, or we start to dread maybe what has already happened, and that maybe there's different cycles of guilt around not taking the most out of the day or the opportunity. Or we notice that maybe we just pass through our house or our day with maybe not really looking. Our eyes are a bit foggy, our ears not really listening very well. And take a deep breath here. And can you really allow yourself to experience this each breath as they come, each breath unique. Slowly release the posture, coming back onto the center of your mat, releasing the hands back to the hips, gently closing the eyes and allowing yourself to be with that release of compression, to hear those many sensations, that noise or movements on a very cellular level. And take one more deep breath. And roll slowly to your right side or left if you have no space on your right. And we're going to come and sit up to find our seated postures. So we're going to take some forward folds. If you want a little bit more elevation for your hips, this will make the stretch on the hamstrings a little softer. Then you can come to sit on a blanket. If you have blocks or a cushion or a bolster close by, then have those handy for the support in the forward fold. And for tonight, we're going to do a slight variation on our half dragonfly that we've been practicing. So take a moment to bend your knee. If you have any knee sensitivities, then you're going to stick with our tree pose, with that shape like our tree pose, with the foot next to the inner thigh, our half butterfly shape. If it is okay for your knee though, we're going to scoot the leg around behind us today, almost as if we're doing like a half split. But we're going to find a little bit of openness with the knee coming out towards the side of the body. So we get maybe a little stretch in the front of the thigh. You want to make sure that instead of your foot being away from the hips, we want to close the knee joint. So this means that it will be a bit more supportive on the knee. So if you feel any pain, you're going to come back to the leg being in front. But if not, scoot your foot nice and close. And you can make a little stack with your blocks in front of you. If you don't have blocks, then lean into your arms and you can relax through your shoulders. Or you can maybe come down onto your forearms. And for this one, we want to feel a stretch on the inner leg or the hamstring and maybe the lower back, depending on which shape we arrive in. Maybe you'll also feel a stretch on that right thigh, depending on where we are. So settle into a variation that works for you. Taking a moment to get comfortable. And continuing this thought on boredom, I've noticed that I particularly have been very bored the last few days. And how often this notion of boredom or this relationship to boredom is actually maybe this thing of not really addressing the present moment, of lingering maybe in the past or the future, lingering with the things I could be doing or should be doing, and or maybe being in the past of craving for the idea of leaving my house, of a different way of working, or maybe even just dwelling on those moments where it felt easy to be at home and with ourselves. And maybe you notice this kind of coming up sometimes. Maybe not. Maybe you haven't been bored at all. In that case, you're very lucky. But now could we maybe take this to being with or listening to that, maybe that state of boredom, this like monotone or very flat kind of feeling, or maybe there's not much range or variation, which is a little bit why we're changing the structure of our practice tonight, just to bring a little bit of variation, to bring that sense of vibrancy or that sense of newness and freshness. We've been working with our gallbladder liver meridian for a couple of weeks now, so somehow these postures maybe might seem a bit familiar, but maybe they feel somewhat easy now to relax into and stay, and that maybe the challenge is not as sharp as it was the very first weeks that we met them. So if you notice this sense of familiarity or lackluster, can we start to encourage ourselves to really truly listen to the journey of the breath? And every time maybe we notice, yes, I know the breath, I know this one, I've had it before, I felt it before, I really do know how I breathe. Could you maybe just pretend, or to bring this perspective of a baby or a child, that we have that curiosity within us to look again and to really actually meet the breath as if it's our first breath. And allow yourself to linger for just one moment longer here. And slowly make your way out, finding your spine vertical, and we're going to come to our half shoelace or full shoelace. I'll turn just to be facing the camera. So with your leg that maybe is behind you, you can pick it up with your hand and bring it all the way across, and take a moment just to hold your leg and give it a little swing as if you're carrying a baby. There wasn't really a theme of children in this, but apparently there is now. And give your hip a little relaxation by swinging your leg, and then you can slowly make it move across, bringing your knees to stack one on top of each other. So for our half shoelace or full shoelace, we want to start to feel our target area around the inner hip or maybe the outer hip, depending on how it is for us. So for extra support, come to sit on your blanket. If this is enough, you'll stay here. If you have any sensitivities with your knees, you'll stay here and flex a little bit through the right foot. And you can either fold forward or stay vertical. Or if you like, you're going to bend your underneath leg so you find both knees stacking on top of each other. If you have a space between your knee and your floor, then maybe you want to fill this space with a block or a cushion, or bring the feet a little closer, or go back to that half variation. Maybe you're going to stay here or fold forward. So we have a couple of variations for our half shoelace or full shoelace tonight. If this is very painful on your hips, you can squeeze the knees together for a moment and then relax them. So take that deep breath, inhale, and exhale to settle in, maybe closing your eyes. And so now we move a little towards our stronger hip postures, bringing that sense of vibrancy, change in sensation, that opportunity to really bring our awareness to the present moment, to really turn up our listening, to tune in and to turn towards the sensations that are present, how the breath is here. And particularly as we come to these postures, the tendency of the mind is to fall into thinking. And I think we could also maybe notice a similar pattern with boredom, that it's often maybe the brain getting a little foggy or falling into those patterns of thinking perhaps very negatively or very critically, falling down that spiral of guilt or doubt, that kind of inner saboteur using boredom as an excuse to come out. And I think what is interesting about boredom is that maybe it's one of these, maybe it's like the most subtle or silent distraction of the mind. Often anger, it's very fiery, or frustration, it's very fiery. We can see it very clearly. But maybe with boredom, it's a bit more silent, a bit more slippery, a bit harder to detect until maybe it's already there. So notice again, if your attention has wandered to the thoughts, bring it back to the breath, back to the present moment. Take one more deep breath here. Releasing the weight of the shoulders. Allow yourself to linger for one more moment and then slowly make your way out. If you can, take your leg with your hands so you can support the relaxation of your hips. And we're going to come to half square or full square. So a bit similar to our version lying down. Sorry, I think the sunset is going to come and get us. So if you have your left leg bent, come to bend your left leg. And I hope you can see, you're going to, we have a couple of options, either to cross the right leg in front, or we can flex the foot, placing it on the calf muscle before the knee, or you can take the foot right up onto the knee. For this half square, we want to have the shin bones, the lower legs, parallel to the top of your mat, and the knees well supported by flexing the feet if that's okay for you. So remember, you can elevate your hips if you notice your knees are very high up, or you take those softer variations. Or if you like, you can find your blocks or your pillows to support underneath the knees. And then we're going to come to fold forward. Take one deep breath and exhale, settling in. One moment, I'm just going to adjust the curtain for our wonderful setting sun. That's going to be a bit better, I think. And as we come into our second hip opener in a row, maybe you notice that accumulation of sensations that somehow we're maybe adding rather than finding that rebound and then beginning again. Finding or meeting that little challenge, that threshold. So can you really turn towards those feelings and sensations that are here? And can you be with them as if you're sitting side by side, rather than in deep conversation with those sensations. Can you allow yourself to simply be as you're here, letting yourself be in this shape? Notice if perhaps there's a dismissive, bored part of yourself present here. Could you invite that aspect to also come and watch the breath, to be with each breath as a new breath, one that will only last for that moment. And take 2 more deep breaths here. Stay for 1 more deep breath, 1 more gong. And then slowly make your way to rise up. And use your arms to support your body to unravel the legs. And lean back into your hands. Coming to rest like you're sitting on the beach. Close your eyes for a moment and allow the compression, those sensations around the hip joints to spread through the body, perhaps. Allowing the rebounds to ease the compression. And if you like, you can gently let your toes fall from one side to the other. Or if you prefer, bend your knees and let your legs go from side to side like a windscreen wiper. And if your eyes are softly closed, then open your eyes. And we're going to come towards our second side. So finding our right leg long in front. Have your forward fold props a little bit close by you. If you were sitting on the blanket, then continue to do so on the second side. And then bend your left knee, pulling it nice and close to you so you feel that the knee joint is nice and folded. Either having option 1 for those with sensitive knees, or maybe taking the leg around you this time. Notice if you feel any sensation around the hip or the knee to elevate your hips, bringing the pelvis a little higher. And then you can find your little tower of things in front of you, or walk the hands forward, either relaxing into the shoulders, letting the head fall, or bring the forearms to the ground. So find your variation of the posture to settle into. And take a deep breath. Exhale to arrive. Allowing yourself to come back, to turn inwards. Inviting yourself to be with any pleasant or unpleasant sensations or thoughts. And one thing I've noticed about my boredom this week is that actually often it's just a disguise for maybe a thought or state that is really the root cause of that unhappiness, that actually the boredom is more of a symptom of something else that needs addressing. Maybe you also notice this with your own boredom. And so as we are contemplating this for tonight's practice, one way to counteract this boredom is to find these moments of meditation, of mindfulness, bringing ourselves back to really listening truly to what is here, to inviting ourselves to be in the present moment, and to find that sense of being with that discomfort without needing to react to it or feed it. But another sort of remedy against our boredom is to find also that sense of creativity. So with our liver meridian, we do cultivate that sense of creativity in these postures, that stimulating action. So maybe throughout the week, if you find yourself a bit bored, maybe you could slip into one of these postures. Notice if it brings you any creativity as you be with your breath for a moment. That as you are here in this state of listening, that any ideas or certain things call you. Take one more deep breath here. And slowly move yourself out of this posture, taking your props to the sides, bringing the spine vertical. Then we come to slowly slip into our second variation. So keeping your leg nice and long, our shoelace pose. Take your left leg and give it a little rock, feeling that you can ease the hip joints. And then come to fold the knees, to stack the knees. Finding our option one, the knees one on top of the other, the left foot flexed, either staying tall or folding forward. Or if you like, bending the underneath leg, maybe using those props to support. And there's the option to stay or to fold forward again. If you have very strong sensation in your hips, it may help you to squeeze the knees for a moment and then release. Finding that active engagement to then help with the letting go and relaxation. Settling back in. And as we come closer towards that heated sensation, maybe that frustration comes to rise up. Can you allow yourself to be cool, to be calm, to be steady? So try not to let yourself be swept away from those distracting thoughts, but to stay here with the grounded body, steady foundation, firm. Be determined to listen to your breath and to be with your breath as it comes in and out. If it helps, maybe come back to following one area of the breath, the belly, chest, or nose, or maybe to follow the journey of the breath. Can you allow yourself to be awake and available to be present and with the breath? Notice as we start to linger on the second side of our hip postures that the mind will work very hard to distract as the sensations start to build. Stay calm, stay cool. Remain with your breath. Gently, if you're folded forward, allow yourself to rise up. And we seamlessly move to our next posture, our half square or full square, sorry. So you need to bring your underneath leg a little closer so we either find legs crossed in front of the mat, or I encourage you to keep your feet flexed for this one to support the knees. Or option 2, foot onto the calf muscle. Or option 3, foot right up onto the knee joint. If you have space between your legs and the floor, then I recommend maybe going back to the half variation or finding those props to support you underneath. And you can either stay sitting or once more fold forward again. Slipping back into our final hip opening posture tonight. Maybe you have that little celebratory noise in solidarity if they're doing the 8 o'clock call wherever you are. Maybe not. Maybe you heard it here in Brussels. So as we come into our last hip opener for tonight, allow yourself to start to receive or to become aware of our wisdom as we practice in the yin, that wisdom of temporality of each moment. Now that you know that it's the last hip opener, notice if your mind latches onto that and there's a sense of craving or looking forward to the future of when we'll be finished. Can you stay with the present moment, stay with your breath? Move your concentration to be with each moment. Can you allow yourself to observe very closely the sensations that you experience, to maybe dive deeper, to look closer? Like our boredom that somehow we need to penetrate, that monotone state, to see really what's beneath. Linger for one more moment as you hear the sound of the gong. And slowly allow yourself to move out as much as you can. Carry the legs to the ground so you can keep your hips nice and soft. And allow yourself to once more lean into the hands, close your eyes, and just listen to how that compression has given way to expansion. Can you allow your attention to move from the toes all the way to your hips? Seeing really that very rich landscape of sensation. And then either let the toes fall in and out. If you'd like to open your eyes so you can check, then please do so. Or bend your knees and let your legs make the windscreen wiper motions. If you prefer to stay still, then it's also good to follow that own need. And then we're going to come and lie down on the belly for our Sphinx pose. So for Annalise, you can go back into our reclined heart opener if you like, or you can do a variation of puppy. I'm not sure if you can maybe place the bolster under your chest. Puppy is this one, Annalise, if you're not sure, where it's the chest opener. You can maybe do it in a way where you don't place weight on your forearms. If you can place the bolster under your chest and then maybe lean onto the blocks. Have a play. If you don't want to play, then go into the reclined heart opener. For everyone else, we're moving into Sphinx pose. So come to lie down onto your belly. If you have your blanket with you today, then fold a blanket. We're going to bring this under the elbows. So you can also do this with your cushion if you like, if you have a cushion. But first of all, just come to lie onto your belly. You can let your cheek rest to the side and give your hips a little wiggle from side to side. Taking a moment to let our front surface fall towards the earth. To notice the breath in the back of the body. And then we're going to slowly rise up onto our elbows. We've been practicing our Sphinx pose each week. So maybe it's starting to get a little bit more familiar. We're working into the lower back, so at the back of the kidneys. We're going to keep the legs nice and soft. If you like, you can open the legs a little wider, particularly if you feel this in your shoulders. We want to move the sensation into the lower back. So you can either keep your elbows underneath your shoulders with that little idea of pressing down and lifting the heart up. Not being too active, but a little bit active. Or if you like, you can think of sliding or moving your blanket forward so that we have this backward motion with the heart and the head. If you find it difficult to take the sensation out of the shoulders and into the lower back, then feel free to take a pillow or a block to rest your head on. This will make the sensation a little easier. Lighter rather, but if we wanted to bring the pressure away from the shoulders and more to the lower back. We're also going to work with seal tonight, so maybe that might be a better option to also try for those who find this one a little less targeted in the lower back. So check for a moment, really relax your glutes, your buttock muscles and your leg muscles. So if you're not sure if they're engaged, you can give them a little squeeze and then release them. Feeling that soft compression in the lumbar spine, the lower back. You're welcome to let go of the belly, the back support of those two thick muscles that guard the spine. And can you even start to deepen the breath into the belly, maybe encouraging a sense of softness around the lumbar. And gently close your eyes if you like. Settling in. And take a moment to just notice if there's a conversation about how good or bad this posture feels in comparison to a previous week, or if it still remains a little bit of a mystery. Could you imagine that those thoughts are just like a script and that they're just being read rather than acted upon? That maybe they're a bit more in the back of the mind rather than in the front. Take a moment to check in again to see if your concentration has wandered, that your attention has wandered. Remembering that we're trying to find those accumulative moments of awareness and attention to develop our concentration, to develop the possibility to be here in that very calm way, a very steady way, allowing ourselves to just observe the mind, the reactivity of the mind, but not be involved. If you like, you're going to stay here if you feel that the sensations are strong enough. Or if you'd like to try a seal tonight, then spread your arms as wide as your mat. Take them a little bit away from you, and you can point your fingers to look out to the corners, and you can maybe press the floor away from you, extending the arms a little bit. Notice as you do this, if you hold onto the legs and the buttocks, can you actively release these areas again? Breathing into the belly once more. Maybe this pushing of your hands will help you to move the sensation more into the lower back. And can you remain in that state of equanimity, steadiness, watching the thoughts rather than being swept up by them? Take 3 more deep breaths, staying with each inhale as you inhale, and each exhale as you exhale. Gently bring your elbows down to the ground if your arms were extended. Or press into your hands and release the elbows to the side. Coming to rest your head on your hands. If it's comfortable, bring your forehead onto the backs of the hands so your head can be equal. The side of the neck could be equal. Then take a couple of belly breaths, opening up that space of compression in the lumbar. Feeling as we return to our rebound that we embrace that sense of ease and safety, that feeling of returning home. And then gently bring your hands underneath your shoulders and press yourself to find child's pose for a couple of breaths. Letting your forehead rest to the mat, or maybe extending the arms alongside the lower legs. Feeling that you round the spine. Feeling again that sense of security and safety as we come back, especially into this forward fold, very safe, or a posture that cultivates that sense of safety. And in your own time, use the pressing of your hands down, the weight of your tailbone to slowly rise up. And we're moving now towards, again, lying on our back for our twist before we find Shavasana. So if you'd like to take extra clothes or turn off some lights, now is the time to do so. Or if you want to have your blanket close by or your block for a little support in the twist, then take those things and have them close by. And then come to lie down onto your back. Taking a moment to bend the knees and place the feet, feeling the weights between the right and the left hip even into the earth. And then we're going to lift up the hips, take them one more time to the left side, and then hug your knees into your chest and roll them all the way to the right side. So this is option one, opening the arms into a T-shape or cactus arms. Or if you want a softer version, you can place a pillow between your knees or underneath your knees. Or if you'd like a slightly stronger version, we find twisted root where we just tuck the left leg over the right leg. As much as possible, find yourself in a place where you can relax your shoulders onto the floor so you can really get that full twisting, rinsing action through the spine. As we come to neutralize the spine after our arch with our twist, check that you feel that full spiral, that full torsion. That we don't find pressure on just the lower back or the sacrum. That it's really the whole spine that can be invited into this twist. If you notice pressure in your lumbar or your lower back or your sacrum, then try that softer variation, place something under your knees. Definitely untwist the legs, but if you have no problem in your variation, then stay where you are. I encourage you to still keep your mindful attention quite bright, so we can still practice that concentration and awareness, even when we slip into the sleepier states again.
Noticing how the breath becomes more subtle and the work becomes more subtle in turn. Take one more deep breath, exhaling through your mouth. And slowly, in your own time, roll back onto your back, bringing the hips to the center and just taking 1 or 2 breaths here. And then move towards the second side, taking your props to the left. Bring your hips to the right side of the mat. Hug your knees into your chest and then let them fall towards the left. Either taking twisted roots or just a simple twist. Bringing both shoulders back towards the earth in our T shape or our cactus arms. Notice if you've slipped away. Bring your attention back to releasing the weight of your body towards the earth. Embracing that sense of surrender, letting go of any tension that is still with you, of any weight that is with you. Allow yourself to feel soft space between your 2 eyebrows. Heaviness of your eyeballs resting in your eye sockets like marble. Your tongue can be wide, the jaw soft. Take one more deep breath and slowly make your way back to that neutral position with your knees bent, feet on the mat. Taking one moment to just settle and then slowly release your legs long. We find our way into Shavasana. Taking the backs of the hands to the floor. If you'd like to cover yourself with a blanket, then do so. We've had quite a lot of strong sensations in the lower back tonight. So if you feel that a bit of aching or pain, then feel free to take a cushion under your knees or just so both of the knees are supported. This helps to relieve a bit of work or tension in the lower back. You can also take your legs up a wall if you have a wall close by. But allow yourself to find resting Shavasana. And when you arrive, take a deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth, feeling the body empty, ready to rest. And gently begin to deepen your breath. If you would like to stay resting longer, then please stay. I will just leave. I will make you leave the video, it's fine. But if you're ready to merge, to resurface, then gently invite some movement into your fingers and your toes. May your head roll from one side to the other. Keep moving until maybe you want to reach your arms over your head, take a yawning stretch. And hug your knees into your chest. Roll towards your right side. And then slowly press with your hands to find a comfortable place to sit. With your eyes softly closed, if that's comfortable for you. Taking a moment to sit here with that sense of calm. With maybe a mind that has that more sky-like quality, expansive and clear. That maybe we are more awake and more aware of our sensations. And with that comes that curiosity that can lead us into finding creative ways to re-engage, to be stimulated and connected, to ease boredom. And bring your hands into prayer position in front of your heart and bow your chin to your chest. A gesture of gratitude towards ourselves for practicing and to sharing the practice with each other. And bring your hands back to your knees and softly open your eyes. Thank you very much, everyone. I will come in a little closer. If you'd like to stay and chat, then feel free to turn your microphone on. But if you'd like to stay in relaxation, then also feel free to head up But thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the practice tonight.